Hello, everybody. It's that time of year again. It's time for the third annual Dissident Political Views Survey. We've done one the previous 2 years, and I've been wanting to do one for this year as well. And I was just busy with some coursework and some other stuff in my life, but I've had a bit of time to work on it and get a first draft together. So I've asked, and a lot of people have submitted some really good ideas. There are some questions I want to ask from the previous ones, like the demographics, political views, that kind of thing. But it's always kind of hard to pick what else you want to add in because there's a lot of good questions like architectural styles or people's opinion on social issues or that sort of thing. But I kind of don't really want to ask the same question multiple times because this isn't really a representative sample. So tracking the changes over time for those kind of issues, I don't think really is that important or really that useful. I think it might be a little more useful to track the changes in people's ideologies. But yeah, so people have submitted some good ideas. So we're going to go through this. I think it's a little long at the moment. So just kind of give me some feedback as to what I should leave in, what I should take out, what I should change. And if you have any like ideas, either something else I forgot or something I can change one of these two. So let's just take a look. I know Google Forms is not exactly the most sophisticated survey tool, but all the other ones cost money, and this one is pretty easy to work with, and it gives like the same quality data. Okay, so we have gender. People probably laugh that I have other, but I'm legitimately curious if anyone's going to put that down. Okay, then we have age, of course. So that's pretty straightforward. That's the same on everyone. So here's kind of the first new question. How did you initially come across these political circles? Now, I call this a dissident political survey instead of a dissident right political views survey because there are a lot of people in these circles who may not identify as right wing. They might be some sort of centrist, or they may even consider themselves to be on the left. But the fact they're kind of in these circles indicates they're kind of different from the norm. They're at least to a certain extent part of kind of this weird online culture. So, how did you initially come across these political circles? I have blog, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, 4chan, 8chan poll. I probably misspelled that. Someone you met online or someone you met in real life. I could maybe say somebody you know from online or someone you know from real life might be better. I don't know if I'm really missing anything major there. I do have another slot, so we're just going to go with that for now. It doesn't really matter. What religions you most identify with? There's no need to really look at this one again. We've done this one. Hasn't really changed. I think it changed a little bit from the first year, but then it changed to this, and I think this is pretty good. Sometimes I think people complain about other Christian, but it's supposed to be kind of vague. That's for like people who might be. I mean, I don't really consider Mormons or like some other pseudo-Christian religious groups as Christian, but if they want to put themselves down there, fair enough. Or they might be non-denominational or evangelical or restorationist or some other kind of non-apostolic denomination that considers themselves to be not Protestant. And I maybe someone will complain that I have Oriental and Eastern, but there's not going to be enough Oriental to justify having it as its own category. So just for the sake of this, I'm just going to pick that. So then we have this. This has not changed since last time. Just the, I think, fairly thorough but a pretty broad range of categories. We have conservative, libertarian, third position. NASBO would also be in there. Broadly right-wing, traditionalist, liberal, left socialist, left anarchist, communist, broadly left-wing, centrist, don't know. I used to have like National Socialist as a separate one. I think it's just easier to just have third position. I know there's probably some overlap between these, but I don't know. It's a very difficult thing to kind of deal with, to be honest. So here's another new question. This is one I'd like some feedback on because I'm not really sure about. It's out of the following, which best describes your parents' political views? So I'm kind of interested. People have been suggesting this one to me, that it might be kind of interesting to see where people started out and where they ended up, or rather, what the kind of the influences were on them. It'd be kind of interesting to see like how many people came from liberal parents or how many people came from conservative households. I know, given that a lot of these aren't exactly mainstream or common political views, it may be kind of redundant, but I kind of felt I was going to have the same one, the same as the previous. I don't really like this question, so I might take this one out if I have to cut something. Okay. This is another one I wasn't sure exactly how to do. I was thinking, like, over the last 5 years, have you become more left wing or more right wing or something? But I think maybe this is a bit better, because keeping in mind, it's right and left are kind of, in these circles, the definitions break down a bit. So I'm just going to say extreme or less extreme. So thinking about about how your political views have changed over the past 5 years, would you say they have become more extreme, become less extreme, stayed about the same? I think that's pretty straightforward. And once again, some of this is just how people define it for themselves. Ideal economy, that's the same as last time. We don't need to go over it. Okay, thinking about the direction of history, which of the following best describes how you see the flow of history? So we have progressive, which is the liberal or Whig view of history, that things are always getting better. Regressive, that there was some golden age at a distant past, and the world's been pretty consistently getting worse until we reach Kali Yuga. Cyclical, which is the idea that the world is in a pretty steady cycle of increase, then crash, then recover, then decline, then crash. And it's just kind of moving in a pretty consistent circle. Dynamic is probably the most unusual one, and that's kind of what I came up with. That's kind of the idea that there isn't a particular direction of history. Like, it's not cyclical, it's not universally progressive or regressive. It can have good periods and bad periods, and periods where things stay about the same, but it's more due to historical factors and individual decisions than any kind of grand narrative. And then other. Let's see here. This was another one people suggested that I thought was pretty interesting. I'll probably leave this one in regardless. Currently, humans live in four main types of developed environments: urban, suburban, small towns, and rural areas. People will probably say, isn't small town and rural the same? I think I looked it up. I think the definition of rural is like 1,000 people or less, or not even in like a formal township. So I don't know. A small town would be, I don't know, like 5 to like 40, 50, 60,000 people. Kind of make of that what you will. And then obviously urban and suburban is, yeah. So then we'll let people can choose their whatever order they want. Okay, thinking about the following groups, please indicate how privileged or disadvantaged you believe they are. Okay, I need to spell check this. But so this is the privilege versus disadvantage. Now, this was one I was kind of on the fence about, because I think this is a very interesting question. It's just very long. And I wasn't sure how to, like, break it down. If maybe I should just take out some groups that are less interesting, like take out Native American or East Asian. But it's kind of hard to pick, like, what to do with who. So there's a scale from very privileged to very disadvantaged. So we have blacks, Native Americans, white people, Muslims, women, men, Christians, Jews, agnostics, atheists, Hispanics, people with disabilities, and the LGBTQ. So we have that group of people. So let me know if I should shorten that, if I should get rid of that question, that kind of thing. Here's another one I was thinking about. I'm not sure if I'll leave this one in, but this was kind of a question I was wondering on. And this is still the first draft. Regarding political parties, in your ideal state, you would allow most political parties to exist and compete for power. I say most because some people would want to ban like a communist party or like an Islamist party or some like anarchist, something like that. Allow other parties to exist but only allow one party to hold power. This is kind of how modern Russia and China works, where there are technically opposition power parties, but they don't stand any real chance of gaining power. They do, however, have the ability to, at least I think more so in Russia, to criticize the government and to kind of propose different policies and to kind of give the opposition some sort of public sphere as a release valve. Then only allow one political party to exist and hold power. That's what it was under the Soviet Union, National Socialist Germany, a lot of modern Cuba, a lot of places like that. Not allow any political parties to exist. Some countries are pretty much don't have political parties. I believe Saudi Arabia doesn't. Belarus has some, but in practice, most of the people are nonpartisan. There are some other countries, a lot of smaller countries or smaller territories, don't have political parties either. Okay, so this was another one someone suggested. I'm sure there's going to be some controversy regarding just how I have these categories set up. But this is, do you believe in or have you experienced any of the following types of paranormal phenomenon? So we have experienced, believe in, but haven't experienced, and neither believe in nor experienced. Pretty straightforward. So we have religious paranormal activities. So that would be you've witnessed a miracle, you've had an intercession with a saint, you've seen an angel, you've received a vision from God, something like that. There are ghost spirits or other hauntings. These categories are kind of hard to come up with, so feedback would be helpful. Ghost spirits or hauntings, I think that's pretty straightforward. Magic, so I guess someone cursing you or casting a spell or something like that. Psychic phenomenon, that's pretty straightforward. UFO or aliens, straightforward. Demons or other demonic activity. And other supernatural creatures. So that would be like fairies, shadow person, Bigfoot, Mothman, Slender Man, something like that. I just have these separated out because I think there'll be like a substantial number of people who believe in demons but don't believe in like these other things, or people who believe in UFOs but don't believe in kind of the other stuff. So I thought this was pretty fair. I don't know if I'm missing anything big, but it's a bit of a curveball. I'm kind of interested to see how many people have had religious experiences. Here's another one people suggested, and I thought this one's going to be really interesting as well. Genres is always kind of hard because there's so many subgenres and people define genres in really weird ways. Like a lot of people have like sci-fi fantasy as being one category. So thinking about media in general, what fictional genres would you consider to be your favorite? Select up to 3. So we have action, adventure, comedy, sci-fi, high fantasy, historical fiction, horror, mystery, romance, suspense, thriller, urban fantasy. Urban fantasy being something like Twilight or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The line between horror and urban fantasy is pretty difficult sometimes, but I guess just interpret it how you will. So I'm just going to say, I don't know, mystery for the heck of it. This was another one someone suggested. I'm not sure about the list for this. This is just kind of what I came up with on my own. Thinking about which genres would you consider to be your favorites? So we have blues, pop, jazz, metal, rap, hip hop, rock, country and western, electronic dance, religious, classical / neoclassical. That's just a personal quirk, because I kind of consider a lot of soundtrack or like video game music to basically just be classical music that happens to be made in a modern context. So that's just kind of my bugbear, I guess you could call it. And then the rest of it is just straightforward the race, ethnicity questions, that kind of thing. So let me know what you think. I don't know when this will actually come out. It'll come out when it's done. I'll probably get some people on board to help me promote it. Well, I mean, I'll kind of have to try to get a decent sample size. But just so you know, I didn't forget about it. It's just a lot of stuff has been going on IRL lately. So God bless. Look forward to hearing from you guys and talk to you later.